Now let's go to chapter 3 for miracle, what I classify as miracle number 4. And to make sense of this miracle, we need to do a very quick satellite overview here. So here's Jerusalem. There's the Dead Sea. You have the Edomites down here. You have the Moabites right here. You have Syria up here, slightly to the north. You have these two kingdoms, kingdom of Israel right here, and the kingdom of Judah right here.
And you have the Ammonites, in fact.
And the Ammonites are up here.
If you're familiar with the country of Jordan today, the capital city is called Amman. And it's based on this ancient tribal group that has lived there for many years.
So to set the stage here, chapter 3, this is one of those times, and it happens occasionally, where different kingdoms the kings will get together and form an alliance and say, hey, let's go and fight against this other kingdom. And you get about every combination and theme and variation of that through the biblical history. In this particular chapter 3, you get Jehoram, who's the king of Israel, with Jehoshaphat, the king of Judah. They actually combine. They make an alliance. They don't combine their kingdoms. They just combine their armies together with the king of Edom to say, let's go and fight the king of Moab, because Moab hasn't been paying its tribute to the king of Israel, and it's kind of a thorn in the side to Edom and Judah, so they join together and say, let's go get them, but we're going to do it secretly. So they bring their armies on this week-long journey down through Edom to come and camp against Moab, where Moab would least expect the attack to come from. So you get 3 against the 1. The only problem is you've got all these men. It looks good, but those men need food and they need water. And they've run dry and they're in trouble. So Elisha makes this prophecy and gives them some direction. In verse 16, he tells them, make this valley full of ditches. Now, by the way, if you're these men camped out here, you are so thirsty, you've run out of water, and this prophet comes to you and says, oh, you want water? Go and dig a whole bunch of ditches in this valley. That's going to make me even more thirsty, and why would I want to dig in the dirt? It's not going to do anything, right? I love the fact that the scriptures, of all the things that they teach us that are wonderful, one of the beautiful truths for me is, look, I have agency. I have a choice. I can either listen to the prophets or I can reject the prophets. And I'm free to do either one, or a variation somewhere in the middle where I take some of what they say but not all. In this case, I love the fact that they actually listened and they went and they dug these ditches. And then verse 20 says, it came to pass in the morning when the meat offering was offered, that behold, there came water by the way of Edom, and the country was filled with water. So water flows and fills these ditches, and they have plenty of water. And the miracle doesn't end there. When the Moabites heard that the kings were come up to fight against them, they gathered all that were able to put on armor and upward and stood in the border. But they rose up early in the morning, and what did they see? The sun shone upon the water, and the Moabites saw that the water on the other side looked as red as blood. So the sun would be rising over here in the east. So you've got this army camped somewhere to the east of them, and they're looking towards this rising sun, and they look at the valley, and it looks like blood. And they think, oh, these 3 kingdoms have now fought against each other, and now it's filled this valley with blood. Let's go and we'll continue to fight them. So they come and attack, but now the Israelites, the Judahites, and the Edomites all rise up and beat down that Moabite army.
So as a point of interest, archaeologists found back in the 1860s, I believe, a stone that was set up in Moab anciently from the king who was actually lived during this time. And he actually talks about how his people had been conquered and he called it oppressed, right? Because he didn't like the Israelites. And he talked about how his people had to pay taxes to Israel. And so we have this second witness to this experience. Right? The Bible has been passed down over generations, edited and curated, and then archaeologists found the Mesha stone or the Mesha stela, where we actually get a bit of this story and the Moabite perspective of what they thought was going on in their lives. And the way they narrated it is that they had been unfaithful to their gods, and that's why they were enslaved to the Israelite God. It's kind of interesting how these ancient cultures worked.